Hey Adam, so we're finally live. Let's just get this thing started. First and foremost, right? I want to just kind of introduce you to all the viewers. I want to sort of tell people about you, about your business, where they can find you. So, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, where's the best place that people can find you?
So I'm on Twitter at Adam Rehm, Rehm, and yeah, that's pretty much it. On YouTube also at Rehm Copy.
Gotcha. You just starting on YouTube?
Yes, sir. Started about a month ago, a little over a month ago.
Started about a month ago. That's good. That's good to hear, man. Okay, so just so everybody's familiar, could you sort of tell everybody about what Rem Copy is, what you guys do, who you target, maybe a little bit about your case studies? Just give an introduction.
Yeah, so we work with e-commerce brands and we handle their email and SMS marketing, a little bit of conversion rate optimization, but mainly just email marketing. And yeah, we work with multiple seven-figure companies, a little bit, some that are a little bit smaller, some that are way bigger. And yeah, we're mainly just killing it for them, trying to make them as profitable as possible, and stacking case studies.
I got you. How'd you get into that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I started off as a copywriter, and I just started learning copy from like the DR goats, and then as well as like the new people, and then ChatGPT came around, started just getting well integrated with what copywriting was, and just getting that skill. Then I just kind of like stumbled into email marketing and what that was, like what that whole world was about.
Yeah.
And I feel like almost like by accident, I just ended up selling that as a service. And yeah, kind of just snowballed into what's going on now.
I got you. Okay, that's interesting. And because obviously, we're in the lead gen world ourselves, so we know a lot of people do e-com marketing. It's one of the more competitive niches. Like, what do you think you are doing? What do you think you're doing different than the other people that's making you get results?
I honestly don't really think it's that much about the actual unique mechanism. I'd say it's more so just about the actual strategy and the targeting and just like your overall approach with lead gen, as well as just like the amount of volume you send. I would say that's probably the main component of it.
Yeah. So, like, for example, in comparison to you versus another copywriter, do you like, where do you think you excel? Like, do you think it's like you being able to mimic like the brand's voice? Where do you think specifically Rem Copy like stands out and gets results? Because there's a lot of agencies that don't get results, and I've seen your guys' stuff. Like, you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah, I would say, I was really lucky to get copy chief by a couple really good copywriters pretty early on. And that was what I feel like that's what helped me skill wise the most. And so a lot of email marketing agencies just like they're really focused on just like let's build a templated thing. I'm trying to always steer clear of that. Like we want our copy
Yeah.
to be on another level that a lot of agencies don't, where they're just like outsourcing it and not really caring about it. So I'd say that's like the biggest differentiator is that, as well as just our overall like approach to marketing and just testing as much as we can, all
Yeah.
that type of stuff. So
Yeah, and I know what you're saying. A lot of agencies, they start trying to make SOPs, they start trying to make systems before they really even get, like, I guess, the core system down. So you guys aren't necessarily trying to, I guess, build lean. You're first trying to just figure it out in the first place, and then start kind of figuring out how to scale. Does that sound right?
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good to hear. That's how I think every agency should be built. I don't think people should approach agencies. Obviously, everybody approaches agencies with the idea of how to make the most money, but like I think people should take a little bit of a backstep and think about the service, right? Because if you focus on your service, like the money's gonna come, right? But if you're gonna focus on the money, like
Yeah,
the service might not always come, you know?
yeah,
So,
exactly. The service is the foundation. Like obviously, like that's what you and I are both focused on. That's what's most important.
yeah. And just out of curiosity, so for you guys in particular, right? And I know copywriting is one of those things that you don't change your copywriter often because every copywriter has like a sense or a style of writing. How long do you guys usually work with a client for when you get one on board?
So most of our clients have been with us like long enough to where we haven't had very many that have actually canceled. But on the low end, probably about 6 months. On the high end, we've had some that are with us for just over a year, right around a year.
And that's how long like the company's been around, right?
Yeah, so we like really got started probably like 13 to 14 months ago.
So it's not like they left. It's just they've been with you since the start.
Exactly. Yeah, they're still
I
with us.
got you.
Most of them are
Okay.
still with us.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man. So you guys virtually have, or not virtually, but like not that much churn.
Very, yeah. So far, I've never really had a big issue with churn. We've had a couple clients go in house, which is like a typical thing. You have to deal
Yeah.
with it. But yeah, for the most part, churn has never really been an issue. I mean, I'm sure it will pop up more as we bring on a lot of different types of clients. But yeah,
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So, I mean, I guess let's just dive into the actual sauce of it, right? Now, obviously, you guys came to us so we can do cold email for you, right? That's obviously a big channel for e-commerce companies. I think it's one of the most popular channels that you can reach someone like an e-commerce owner, just because of the fact they are people who are on the internet. You know, they have email addresses, they're publicly available. They're not like some of these other industries, like plumbing, for example, where it's impossible to find them on something like Apollo. But in the past, I think, what is it, 2 weeks now, we've booked you guys in. I think it's like 8 or 9 qualified calls, right in the calendar. And I mean, there's still others who might be potential leads, but that's kind of what we were seeing right now so far. That's already guaranteed, right? Now, I'm just curious because a lot of people struggle with this, and just like you, right? People want to keep things in house. Like, what made you guys want to decide to start letting like an agency manage your cold outreach? Like, what made you guys want to take that leap?
yeah. So I was doing it myself for a really long time, and I was getting like decent results, but it wasn't super reliable. It was actually very unreliable, especially because we'd get a ton of client work to be like on top of, and then I would just lose the time to take care of it. So I thought one, getting it off my plate would be valuable, but also giving it to you guys, where you guys actually are probably a lot better at it than I am. Was probably the main parts of that decision.
Of course, right? And it's one of those big things. I'm sure you had like those times where like one of your lead lists is like finishing up and your campaign's finishing up and it's kind of on your to-do to like get a new one up and running, right? And then you kind of forget about it, and it's never like consistently running. So I know what you're talking about, right? It's kind of like one of the big reasons, lead generation isn't, I guess despite popular belief, lead generation isn't something you just launch and let it go. Like you have to actually do it. Like it's a whole part of your business. So I totally understand what you mean by the fact that like it's a something you have to always manage. You have to be on top of it. You got to be doing it. So it makes total sense. Now that kind of leads me to my next question. What would you say is like your favorite part about working with us, if there is something like that?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite part is probably just being able to. So, like for example, we're using like the Loom strategy. I would say my favorite part is just seeing looms pop up. I just record them, they're done, and then I don't have to worry about anything else other than just like communicating with you guys. Like that's super helpful for me.
Of course, and that's our whole philosophy, right? Our whole philosophy is, and I mean, for those of you guys who have watched like some of my content before, that our whole philosophy is the commitment-aware outreach. It's the whole point of, you provide value first. Because when you approach somebody, they're not aware of you. They're not aware of the solution to fix their email marketing. Yeah, they know agencies exist. They just don't know that specifically REM copy exists, right? 100%. So you approaching them and immediately asking to jump into a call, it's a very high, I guess, relatively speaking, it's a high commitment offer, and you're not there yet, right? You have to kind of make them trust you before you ask for some of their time. So that's kind of the biggest part. And a lot of people, believe it or not, some of our other clients, they don't actually like recording looms. So it's funny to hear that you actually do enjoy it. But I mean, to be honest, like it is a hassle. I could see why people don't like it. But like, I mean, let me ask you this. What's your average LTV look like on a client?
So, like I said earlier, we have a lot that are still running. So like they haven't capped out yet. But on average, like for my numbers, I usually go with like about 15K average lifetime value. But
Gotcha.
obviously like some right now are higher than that, and then we've had some that are a bit less than that. But on average, 15K is a probably conservative estimate.
Probably conservative estimate. Okay. So if you're conservatively making $15,000 per client, and let's say you have to record 10 looms that are 15 minutes each to acquire one client, and you just spent 150 minutes, which is like 2.5 hours, to acquire a $15,000 client. Like that's well above minimum wage.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense. It makes sense on the time wise. I obviously, if you actually like focus it and you're providing value in these looms, and that's another thing. Obviously, Adam, we have our frameworks in the agency for looms, but your framework, what you were already doing in the actual loom video was very interesting. You had like that, what is it? It's a Lucid chart, right?
Yeah, so I had a Figma like layout, and
Yeah.
I would just kind of walk through that, our offer, our process, our
Hmm.
results. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It was
it's
a bit
really
off the
interesting.
cuff, but for the most part, it was like a standardized.
Yeah, and you had like the case studies built in, so they would see those immediately, and then
Yeah,
you would
yeah,
you would relate what you're actually talking about. You'd be like, okay, this flow, got us 50K added monthly revenue to this company, and that this is why it matters. So you would kind of intertwine why each part of like the presentation matters with an actual case study, and I think that would make things very effective because immediately it doesn't sound like you're just showing them case studies because then it kind of seems like you're trying to sell to them, but it actually seems like you're trying to give value and you're just proving to them it actually works, which is a very clever method. Did you come up with that, or did you like see that somewhere on a course or something?
yeah. I mean, I've definitely gotten input from a lot of different people in the
Mm-hmm.
space, but I mean, like coming from copywriting, I'm a big direct response guy,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm also a huge believer in giving value at the same time. Because I think
Yeah.
like if you just sell, 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 that turns people off immediately. But if you
Mm-hmm.
build trust and give value and sell at the same time, in my
Yeah.
opinion, that's the best approach to take with any type of sales material.
Of course, of course. Yeah. So that's actually interesting you say that. So, for example, hypothetically speaking, if there are other people in the e-commerce marketing game watching this, what would you recommend to them? Like, what would you tell somebody, hypothetically speaking, if you were if you were speaking to Adam from a couple of months ago,
Yeah.
who knew a lot less about lead generation, right? Like, what would you tell yourself to kind of help you get more clients?
Definitely lead with a giving hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were just talking about, I think that's the biggest thing. And also never stop following up. Follow ups are huge, and
Mm-hmm.
like I have a couple clients right now that have been with me for close to a year. One is over a year, and I followed
Mm-hmm.
up over 25 times. Like you
Yeah.
have to keep following up. It's not like you're being a pain to follow
Yeah.
up with people. Most people actually appreciate the follow up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's definitely you can never stop following up with people. 100%. I
Yeah,
say those
and
are
we
probably the two main things.
I know. I saw you retweeted about it recently, right? That one person
Yeah.
that was like on one of your old campaigns, you followed up with him like 30 times or something, and he just responded.
Yeah, so that was actually someone else who literally I followed up like 28 or 30 times, something like that.
Yeah,
And yeah, they're like, "Oh yeah, thanks for following up." Like,
yeah,
people appreciate it.
yeah. That's great. Did you end up booking a call with him?
No, I think they're still sitting in the pipeline, but
Yeah,
like, they show interest, so
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's all that matters, right? I mean, these people are busy. It's if they weren't interested and you were bothering them, they would just tell you to stop. Like it's not that difficult. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Or they block your email or something. So, I mean, if they're not telling you to stop, like indirectly, like they're just busy. They're probably not seeing your emails. So, it makes sense why you want to keep following. It doesn't cost anything either. Like that's another thing, right?
Yeah.
In the cold email world, that's a big thing. People always talk about how long the follow up sequence should be, right? When we send off a loom, we'll start a subsequence right in Smart Lead. We'll follow up with them for like a year.
Yeah, I mean, if
Like
they don't tell you no, there's no reason
exactly,
to stop. If they tell
especially
you
because
no, then cool.
no, that makes sense. No, you should never follow up to tell you no, because
Yeah,
then they're gonna mark you as spam. You're gonna start going to the
exactly.
to the spam box. But realistically speaking, like, and keep in mind, right? Like a lot of the time when you're doing outreach, you want to go in segments. Like you don't want to just approach every e-commerce brand in the world with a generic e-commerce brand message. You want to approach specifically fitness brands, specifically wellness brands, specifically in different ones. And a lot of the time, you don't have much TAM, right? So a lot of the time, there might only be 1,000 fitness brands that are in the US that are on Shopify that are doing 100 to 200K a month. So you not following up with one interested prospect when there's only like 1,000 in the full TAM, like you're hurting yourself a lot more than you think, right? In contrary to when you have a massive lead list and it doesn't matter. So that's like the number one thing. If anybody asked me as well, I would definitely recommend like always follow up. That's a really big part of it, and especially now because you can automate all that. It's not like it used to be where you're sitting on Gmail sending off emails
Yeah.
manually. So it's a very interesting thing. But
Yeah.
all right then, man. So I mean that kind of sums up the video, right? I kind of got everything I wanted to ask. Is there anything else you want to sort of say to the audience? Maybe plug something of yours. If anybody wants to get in contact, maybe potentially work with you. Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is that if you're considering like working with these guys, like they care a lot about the actual process. They care a lot about the actual details of the campaigns. I honestly find a lot of value in that. And yeah, I mean, pump more volume. Get good strategy.
Pump more
Just run
volume.
it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if there's any potential e-commerce brands owners who are looking for a fabulous email marketer, how can they reach you? What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so just hit my DMs on Twitter at Adam Rahm, ADAMREHM, or just go check me out on YouTube at Rahm Copy. And yeah, I'm gonna be on most platforms pretty soon. I'm also on LinkedIn, but Twitter's the main spot. Hit me on Twitter.
Gotcha. All right, Adam. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Adam here, and we'll go from there. Bye-bye.
Appreciate you.